So guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Romain_JF. I'm excited about my conversation today. And for my French speakers, Iamoun audité en français, bienvenue. Aujourd'hui, j'ai décidé. No, I'm just playing. That's all I got. That's all I got for French right now. Let me know how I did. But today's topic, guys, I'm gonna actually talk about gene, my reason for wanting to do an ancestry DNA test so I can find out my origin and where exactly from Africa am I from. And we're also going to talk about diseases as well, and a disease state, well actually I wanted to call it disease, but a disorder which I feel strongly about, which is autism. So to start our conversation first, yesterday I was on a kick. A lot of these times I get on kicks where I honestly like to just zone out, listen to music, and just post on my Instagram story. And I'll also put my Instagram handle here for you guys to see. But I just like to post on my Instagram story. It gives you a glimpse of what I'm thinking a bit, but it doesn't tell the full picture. But a lot of times I just like to educate. I just like to share in real time. So that's what I was thinking. I went to visit my parents last Saturday, and I had this painting of these Haitian revolutionists, right? Toussaint Louverture's up there. There's a few female warriors as well. Dessalines on there as well. And it's by one of my favorite Haitian artists. He had created it, and I duplicated that artistry. And I thought to myself, what runs in their veins also runs through my veins. And it's a motivation for me to look at every day. I honestly love that painting. I want to have it blown up and signed by the artist in itself one day. So from this painting, I thought to myself, you know, where in Africa am I truly from? I know I'm from Haitian descent. Both my parents are Haitian. That makes me Haitian as well. I'm born in the United States, so we categorize it as Haitian American. But where from Africa am I from? And the only way to truly understand that is to understand what your DNA is. So that's our conversation of today. We're going to talk about DNA. We're going to talk about genes, and we're also going to talk about the disorder autism. What is a gene? So a gene encodes a protein. And what a gene truly is, a gene contains not only a series of blueprints, but a coordinate of programs, a means of controlling its own education. And a gene it's 23 chromosomes, 3 billion base pairs, and 2 sugar phosphate backbones. So I know you guys probably seen that DNA diagram before, and there's base pairs, and these base pairs are, for acronym purposes, ATGC, and what that means is adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. These are nucleotides. So a series of ATGC, or sometimes it could even be AAGTCGGGG, a long list of this encodes a gene within itself. So a gene encodes a protein, and a protein regulates a gene. The reason why my skin is always brown and it doesn't deviate is because there's a gene encoding my specific pigmentation. Right? The reason why someone's hair is blonde is because a gene is encoding their hair to be blonde. Even when it comes to different disease states, it's because the gene is doing so. Genes are very important because genes make up who we are as people. And it's the reason why we see different variations in people and different disease states as well. So what I want to share with you is my thoughts. So the other day on my story, I decided to just share some cryptic messages and give a little bit of details on this specific topic. The reason why I wanted to bring this up, because not too long ago, I had a conversation with one of my friends. And in that conversation, my friend had told me, he said to me, you know, I go visit him. I actually went to buy a t-shirt from him and support his business. So when I went to go support him, he was a little bit down. So I asked him, like, hey, what's wrong? And my friend told me, my son, he's about 4 years old right now. He's in school, but the teachers are telling me that my son isn't keeping up with the rest of the students. Like he's getting up a lot of times. He's running around. He's not being attentive. He's not paying attention. And at the time I'm looking at his son is the most politest young man I ever met. When I came in, he greeted me. He was actually presenting me some of his toys and telling me about them a bit during this conversation I was having with my friend. And he looked like he was on the ball. And I looked at him and I thought to myself, I don't think there's a problem with your son whatsoever. And I just want to say as parents, sometimes we really need to be careful. And I'm not even a parent. This is from the outside looking in. But I think as future parents and current parents now, millennials, be careful on what you're spilling out there to your child, because a lot of times other people's judgment of your child shouldn't dictate how you think about your child. You could have a child who's not good at math, right? But it doesn't mean, the child is lacking of anything. The child could be a genius in another topic, could be a genius in science, or could love to design, could be into art, could be a great communicator. Math may not be their strong suit. For his son wasn't able to rigorously sit down and pay attention to what was going on. He probably has way too much energy for it, right? So I just want to put that out there, just to be mindful of that as parents. And back to mutation. So to talk about diseases, and in one of my stories, I had wrote, your child is not different, only human. This is extremely important. So again, your child is not different, only human. A mutation doesn't imply disease, nor does it specify a gain or loss of function. A mutation is defined only by its deviation from the norm. A mutation is thus statistical. I'll tell you, an example of that is we have to look at differently what we think is normal. The word norm is, I would say, statistically the average or the average or the majority is this sort of way, but it doesn't mean that because you deviate from that, you are not normal. Okay? Prime example, you put a blonde child born in a country full of brunettes is a mutant. It's different, right? That child can also be ostracized because they are different. A tall man in a village of short people, right? You're a monopoly, but it doesn't mean that you're not normal. An autistic child amongst other individual childs, right, who don't have autism or may even have autism, may have not been diagnosed, they could have a different variation of it, doesn't make that child any different. So that's really what I was trying to get to my friend, because genes are all important. They make us all up and they make us different, right? No one person is the same. You wouldn't want that. No disorder is the same either. We may characterize it as this form of autism or just autism in general, but every disease is what considered a snowflake disease state because it's all completely different. Like, well, the phenotypes, the way it presents is different. I remember my brother used to work closely with autistic kids, and I've never honestly worked with any autistic kids. I've seen them before, and I like to people watch sometimes. I just like to, I like to observe, and I like to learn. And my brother was telling me how there was a child that he was watching over, and the parents hired my brother to sit in with their child, to take notes, and report back to them at the end of the session. It's like a 3-hour-long session. My brother normally go during the weekdays to watch over this kid. And my brother realized this kid does have a form of autism, but his autism isn't as severe. But what he did notice is that the parents weren't necessarily engaging the child in the right way and did not truly understand his disease, right? The child, he would play video games, and when he's currently engaged in something, if he's engaged in baseball, engaged in playing video games, engaged in math, the child wants to finish it all the way through. When he starts something, he wants to finish it. His mom would times, when he was playing video games, would tell him like, hey, Anthony, I want you to go clean your room. I want you to go brush your teeth. It's time for bed. I want you to get ready for bed. And when the mom did this, the child would, not like tune her out and not listen. But it wasn't that he truly didn't want to listen to her. It's because his disease and the way his disease presents doesn't allow him to disengage unless he's ready to disengage with whatever that activity is. He wants to see it all the way through. That's a type of child that can excel in other facets of life, right? There's not anything wrong with that at all, because we need people like that. I would love if I had a pilot who had that sort of autism. Bro, I need you to pay attention and make sure we get to our destination safely. With that's that child's superpower within a sense. Or if just say, I'll see another job that needs you to be, critically in the moment. The guys on a NASCAR pit, right? They have normally there's like 6 guys around the cars, one taking off the tires, one giving them gas, and someone's checking in on the driver. Either way, they're all doing something, and it's extremely fast. It's fast paced. If someone was to have autism and had their job, depending on their their variation of the disease, of the disorder, they'll be locked in, right? You want somebody like that. You want somebody on your team who's completely engaged and locked in. That's their superpower within a sense. So to look at that as a negative or just truly a disorder or something you're trying to change, I wouldn't necessarily try to change it, but try to enhance on that ability, right? Tap into it. The parents didn't realize that, so they never truly were able to tap into his gift, right? He was made different on purpose, right? God gave him this divine gift and talent, this gene that encodes him to want to vastly engage. Like, example, that child then gets older, he wants to hunt. There's certain people who aren't able to multitask. They can't see multiple objects. And I'll give you an example. In the history, when humans hunted then for their food, they were a hunter-gatherer. They hunted for their food. The people who had the autism trait during the hunt, who were agile, they probably done a lot better because they were able to multitask on different moving objects. You ever seen gazelles, and they're normally in a group, or deer? They're normally within a group, and they're grazing. But once they move, normally they camouflage within their environment, so you just see a lot of moving parts. For someone who has autism, or for someone who a gene encodes them to decipher specific objects, even when it all looks the same, right? Well, like even when your eyes could necessarily be playing tricks on you, their disease then shines. And I want to bring to my point, I think we need to look at differently when we think about mutation, we think about diseases. Another disease state I would want to mention is an autoimmune disease, sickle cell. I came across a few studies on the sickle cell disease, and I found that sickle cell, people who carry that trait for the sickle cell autoimmune disease, and normally it's within African American people, someone who carries that trait in Africa, they do a lot better when contracting malaria, right, than those that don't have that gene encoded. Human DNA within itself, 4% of human DNA, 4% is viral. 4% of our DNA is truly just encoded viruses, some dormant and some active, but just viruses. Okay, there's a lot of dormant genes that even to this day scientists don't truly understand, because some genes are only active when the environment, or when contracted with another virus, or when the environment truly changes. So we don't know truly. Just say the earth is polluted with water. The earth becomes polluted with water. There's probably a gene that encodes us to be able to survive in that environment for a longer period of time. There are certain people from a village, I believe this is in Southeast Asia, or the specific islands, they have a certain gene that allows their lung capacity to allow them to deep dive, stay in the water for 4 minutes on average. I can't stay in the water longer than I feel 40 seconds, I believe. I'm trying to get up to a minute, but for someone who gene allows them to encode that and have those specific phenotypes to do something that amazing, that's a mutation in which would be favorable to someone living in that sort of environment where they're surrounded around water. You would need that gene to be expressed. For Africans who are living within Africa and there's tall grasses, right? You need to see above the grass. So it would behoove you if you were, if a gene was to encode for you to be a bit taller, right? That's why you would see a lot of Africans normally are taller in stature, because they needed that to survive within their environment. But you change the environment, the idea of disease needs to change along with it, because that same tall person amongst a country or a village of dwarfs is looked at as abnormal, right? But if you take that same tall person and put him amongst other Africans of his same stature, he's now looked at as normal. So I want to read this for you guys. So it says here, and I wrote this on my story. I screenshotted it. So it says here, the illness, autism. The illness is situational. It lies more evidently in the incongruity of the specific genotype and the circumstance of the environment. It says the environment is constantly subject to change. The definition of disease has to change with it. And that's true. That is true. Since the environment is subject to change, the definition of a disease has to change with it, because not all diseases are necessarily bad, right? There's not good nor bad, but just human. For example, for someone who is primarily heavy set, right? Genetically, they're more dispositions for their body to take on more body fat than the norm. It's harder for them to lose weight. They'll do great in colder, that same individual will do great in colder climates because they're able to maintain their girth and stay warm in colder climates. But for someone such as me who is skinny, I may not do as well. I would need supplements. I would need more. Coats. I would need jackets and things like that. I would need fur. But for somebody who is bigger in stature, they're able to withstand. All right, guys. I also want to mention as well, I went ahead and I did my Ancestry.com. Recently, I did a saliva test, and I really truly wanted to just know my origin from Africa, in which I explained I'm interested in genes, and I really want to know a bit about my histories further past what my parents can tell me. I think it's well worth it, guys. I haven't yet got my results. I'll share my results on there for you, with you guys. And what came within this kit is a capsule to put your saliva within. You'll send it for processing, and then they'll give you your results in maybe I want to say 4 to 5 weeks time. I'm still waiting on that. I'll put that information on my YouTube medium. So that's that, guys. Let me know what you think about the conversation about autism, about a gene. I want to end this by saying that for future parents and for anyone who understands a disease state, it doesn't matter what the disease can be, right? It could be categorized as diabetes, could be autism, could be multiple sclerosis, whatever the disease may be. I want to say that we're all human, and although this specific gene is expressing this phenotype, right, is expressing maybe a lack of T cells within the immune system, this doesn't necessarily mean that the gene's encoding wrong, right? That person may thrive in a different type of environment, right? And obviously there hasn't been much drastic changes in our environment, but I just want to tell you this. If you look at it, and I'll end it on this note, the sighted man in a country full of blind people is king, right? The sighted man in a country full of the blind is king. But if you flood that land with blinding light, now the country now reverts back to the blind, right? So all it is an environment change, right? So I just want to say, for all those who do have autism, you know, you that's your superpower at the end of the day. You just need to tap into it. For parents, help your child tap into that gene, tap into what that autism may be, because honestly, there are a lot of great minds who were diagnosed with having a disorder of so, but that disorder also aids them in their individuality, right? It aids them in what they're actively engaged in. And hopefully too, you become one of those people that finds their passion, right? And their passion is truly a representation of who they are. So guys, thank you for being with me today and allowing me to do this YouTube channel with you. I tried to do it all the way through. This is, you know, my enjoyment. I actually like getting on here and talking. Please follow me, Romain_JF. That's my Instagram, my YouTube, my Twitter as well too. Normally what I post on these different platforms is all full circle. It's normally just me and trying to engage in different types of conversations. And let me know your thoughts. Put the comments in here. And thanks guys. Thanks for being with me today. And on to the next episode. I'll see you.